Testing, 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 testing. Right. So if you want to have a look at the, if you have a look on the YouTube, you should now see.
Yes.
Oh no, it's not. Hang on. Oh, there we go. You just hit play. What's going on?
Let me open my app.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Okay. Just, if you've got your headphones, if you can just check that there's sound coming through.
Yeah, sure.
Oh yeah, I heard
Yeah,
that
it's
making some noise.
working.
Yep.
Yeah,
Good.
it's working.
Yep. So can you hear like crowd noise and whatnot?
Yes, I can hear the voice.
Yep. Cool. Okay. The YouTube stream is delayed by 20 seconds. So
Yeah,
so you have to
I can tell it's the
yeah. So it's not immediately live. So if we're doing a test, we sort of have to test and then like wait for it to kind of propagate through. So yep. So don't be surprised if it's behind. All right, I can probably do I should be able to do the Q&A. All right, Ross, we need to get you mic'd up. Mic on. Yep, turn that on. And then yep, there we go. And yep, perfect.
Cool. Test. Is that
There
okay?
there was a little thingy that covered that was fallen off somewhere.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Ooh. Damn.
Where were you?
I've been in a number of places. Unfortunately, hang on, let's shake my shirt and see if it comes out.
Hey everyone, if you are waiting for us online, we'll be up and running at just on 6 o'clock, so just give us a moment and we'll be up and running. Thank you.
So is this one just for the room?
Yeah, so this is for me, and then that one's we'll just pick up your voice. So,
for online.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a way?
Everyone, if you want to take a seat, we'll be starting in about 3 minutes.
And is there a way of testing whether or not it's working online?
We'll have to actually.
Hello, test. Test. Hello. Hi there. Test, Anthony, test. Oh, yep, good. You getting it? Okay, cool. Bit of a delay. Just kind of.
Thank you very much for the feedback. So much All right, where is Igor? There he is. Yeah. All right, so that's yeah, awesome. Yes. So if you're standing at the back, there are 3 seats here. We promise we don't bite, and it also looks better on the camera as well.
Welcome everyone.
So it's for the live stream. So there's about 20 people online that you're talking to, and that's on already. There you go.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. So I'm the community sales manager of Biz Dojo, and I'm running this space. We have lots of contractors, lots of startups, or people who start their business on their own. And so like yeah, so like we have Igor here. We do lots of networking, and it's a good space to meet other entrepreneur or other companies you can work for if you have a special talent that you would like to sell your services and your skills. So yes, like we are part of IWG group, so it's a worldwide group. So yes, like we are pretty much everywhere in Auckland. We have one spot in Constellation Drive, Albany, one in Sylvia Park. We are present in Christchurch, Dunedin, and Wellington as well. So, and I have a couple of 3-day trials that if you would like to have some, you are very much welcome to have some. And we're very happy to sponsor their event for tonight. And we hope that you will have a good time tonight. And if you just want a day, like 3-day trial, just come and pop in at the reception, and I'll be happy to give you some. Okay? Yes. Thank you very much.
Cool. A round of applause for Biz Dojo. That's funny. I was just actually I've had a few conversations tonight about the state of the industry right now. My theory is that there is no better time than now to start your own thing. Like if you've got an idea, because there's so much amazing talent around, and if you're starting your own thing, what better place to host it than Biz Dojos? And apologies to the people online, we can't hand out a free trial card. That's the advantage of coming in person. But I know that the person who's joined us from India will probably struggle to come in person. So thank you so much for joining us from India. So big thanks to Biz Dojo for hosting us tonight. And I want to say a massive thanks and introduce Igor from Blacklock, who has provided the food and also the connection with Biz Dojo. So let him say a few words.
So I'll just add something on behalf of Biz Dojo. If you come here, you'll join a bunch of cool kids like this guy.
Yeah.
And for those of you online, I'm going to just overrule this so you don't miss out. If you reach out to me on LinkedIn and ask for a 1-day free trial, I'll twist Barbie's arm and get you a ticket as well.
Right.
So I've actually prepared a couple of slides just to introduce Blacklock very briefly before we go to the next speaker. Just a quick overview of who we are. We are a cybersecurity team. We do penetration testing and assessment of your application security. Who here knows what DevOps stands for? Who here actually runs a part of a DevOps team? Great. You should be talking to us. So some of these great companies already do and enjoy it very much. We've got all these awesome cybersecurity credentials, and you can find Blacklock platform on the AWS or Azure marketplace. But very quickly, if you understand the DevOps term, the term DevSecOps probably wouldn't sound too strange. And this is what Blacklock platform does: is that we insert that little sec into the DevOps lifecycle. So, who here thinks that cybersecurity is one of the biggest things you should think about when you build a software product? Okay, well, this is how you do it. You make sure that you use security tool in your DevOps lifecycle. So, just a very quick explanation of who here knows what a manual penetration testing is and does manual penetration testing as part of their software development. There's a few hands. When you do that, it's a very expensive and complicated process, which requires a lot of project management and organizing, scoping, etc. What we've done at Blacklock is we've automated 3/4 of that manual penetration testing process. And what that allows us to do is that allows us to enable DevOps engineers to implement parts or all of the manual penetration testing process in their day-to-day work, which means that when they've done everything and deployed everything and they've done that manual penetration test at the end, they don't end up with a laundry list of things to do, which will inevitably delay the deployment or the go live date. So probably skip on that. This is roughly how Blacklock platform looks like. And if any of you wants a more detailed demo, I'm happy. Please reach out to myself or Olga. Olga, please stand up. Olga's around there. So either Olga or myself, and book a demo or any questions. So with that, this was supposed to be very brief, so I'll try to keep it very brief. I would like to introduce Ross Stanley, who is the speaker for tonight.
Thanks, Igor.
Plug your laptop into that screen.
Cool, we'll do. I'll give you that. I can do that. I got your wine, Igor. You go. It's yours.
Thank you. Very
All right.
That's yours. Okay, cool. Kia koutou katoa, no mai Auckland. Hello, I'm Ross Stanley. Thanks for coming, everybody. On a Monday night of all nights that we want to come and do something. Really appreciate you all coming here. Even people I've worked with before have turned up, so that is a good sign. But then, you might be here to see other people. Okay, so who am I? I'm Ross. I help SaaS software companies scale. I do that by defining the right problems to solve for their target customers and delivering the right solutions. That all sounds pretty simple, but I also have a super simple secret to doing all of this, and that is asking good questions. So that's why we're all here today, to talk about the most powerful question a product manager can ask. But which questions should we ask though, right? And is it possible that there is really only one question? Let's find out. The most powerful question a product manager can ask. Oh, gotcha. All right, I've lured you. There's not just one question. Oh no, there are many. And you'll probably have noticed that this is my other simple trick, and that's asking other people for help. All right, so I've gone on the internet and said, hey, can anybody help me? I'm giving a talk. And thank you to all of you who did that. 21 people responded. There are more than people here, so some of you did not respond, right? But I got 54 questions, and from that I tried to choose my favorites. It's hard. It's like choosing favorite children. Of course, I do have favorite children, but some of my children, anyway, more favorite. It's hard to choose the question, is what but I got there through hard work, and I hope it paid off, because I really want you all to take away some questions that you can ask tomorrow, right? That you can go back to the office and say, hey, I had this insight. I thought of a new way of asking this question. And sometimes it can be very subtle, right? Sometimes it can be just a slight turn of phrase that can turn your question around. So this is what we're gonna talk about tonight. We're gonna talk about why we ask questions, what a good question looks like, the types of questions we ask in product management, and then I'll give you a big old list and what I think about them. So here we go. Right, why we ask questions. Let's start with this. So approaching situations and problems with an open and curious mindset, that is our job, really, right? It's our job to really understand where the hell we are, and build a map for everybody else. Build a map collaboratively. I'm putting a position here that all knowledge acquisition starts with a question, even if it's implicit. And the key to building a map of the territory of the problems, it's the key to building a map of the territory, the problem space, and then the solution space. So, we try to figure out where we are on a map. We try to figure out where we're going and what obstacles there are in our way. And it really comes from a mindset of curiosity. We learn as we go. We learn by investigating. Initially, we do this through research and questioning, through interviewing, through gathering data, but always with that open channel for feedback, and always with an inquiring and curious mindset. A good example of this that I've been part of is, I think we've all seen what happens when we gather data on something, right? You say, hey, I've got this question to answer. I gather the data, and it's not until you get that data back that you really know what the questions are that you should have asked, and then you go back again. And it's maddening for the people that you ask for that data from. Sometimes it's yourself. But every time you go back and you reiterate, you get more information. A good example of this is at Vend. Back in the day, we built our own kind of rudimentary user behavior event tracking system, and that tied user behavior to user attributes. Sounds really simple. It was really simple, and it was very powerful. So the example is that I like to share is there was a few screens in the inventory part of Vend. It's a retail management system, cloud-based retail management system for those who don't know it. And there were some inventory screens, and they're a bit dusty, and they need some work, and we're getting some complaints. Really worth updating these. So we asked a really basic question: how many people are going to this screen, right? And how many are going every day? So we looked at it and went, not that many people are going to it, so it doesn't seem very important. But then we said, what about people who go every week? What about people who go every month? And then we found there was this kind of dedicated cohort of people who are constantly going to this particular inventory screen. Then we found out, and then we asked the next question, right? So we got that, and we could have turned away at that point and said, no, not enough people are using it. Let's work on something else. Then we looked at, what kind of plan are they on, these customers? And it turns out they were huge multi-store retailers. They were paying us a lot of money. What we found is that a significant chunk of our revenue came from the people who were using this particular screen. They were raising a lot of tickets, more support tickets than your average retailer. They were not as satisfied as your average retailer, and possibly churning, but we didn't have the data on that. So that was a really good example of how one question led to another question, which led us to change our behavior and have an outcome, which was to focus on that particular screen. And actually, it helped us focus on inventory-based retailers, which I'll talk to you a little bit more about in future slides. So that really helped us. That inquiring mindset got us to a good result. Also, I just think it's a core skill, right? Anyone can do this job of product in some form. That's why we're here. Anyone can do it. We just make lists of things, right, and just put them in the right order and then do them. Really. But one of the core skills is asking great questions and getting really good at asking them. And that's how we elevate ourselves from just being list makers. We can just make lists, but actually the power is in explaining that to people and why we're doing what we're doing. I do laugh when I hear CEO of the product, but it is that bit in between strategy and execution. I think it's a really important part for us to play. And I don't think we're just order takers. We're investigators, right? We try and find the truth. So who are we, and what does a good question? So an open-ended question, that's one where it's not just a yes or no or a binary answer. It is a question that allows your subject to go deeper, to share with you their feelings, their hopes, their dreams, right? And it takes longer, but it is worth it. Good examples are closed question. Do you have a problem with this? And another way of asking that is, what challenges do you foresee in using this? Nice open question gets people to think about what they're about. Sometimes the people we interview, sometimes the users don't really want to be there, right? They not that they don't want to be there, but they don't know how they can help. And sometimes they feel a little bit like, I don't think I've got something to help you. I don't think I've got something to offer and something to share. A question like that, what challenges do you foresee? It gives them the opportunity and the permission to really open up and share with us. I really like the evoking a place in time, and I think this is very powerful for getting the truth, right? So someone will, if you prime your subject to accurately remember a place and time, the chances are you'll put them in remembering mode, and they'll tell you something honest. They'll tell you something they were actually doing. So not what did you do, not why did you do that, but tell me about a time when you were reconciling the accounts. Tell me about that time when you were doing this thing. What decisions did you make, or what decisions were you asked to make? Not why did you do that? Not only does that sound a bit threatening, but it doesn't get the best results. I also like kind of visual questions or future-focused questions. I'm not a psychologist, but I do believe that when you allow the person you're talking to think visually, it allows them to project themselves into the future, right? It allows them to think of a visual picture and and imagine what might be. And it gives them the permission to share with you something that they may be too embarrassed to share previously, because they might not think that. But in asking a question like, paint me a picture the future might look like for you, they're allowed to share that with you, and they won't feel bad about that. I've got some other things I like about good questions. We haven't got to the questions yet, though, have we? So this is like all preamble for, like, you know, just getting you ready so that you can recognize what a good question looks like out of these 54 that were shared with me. A positive direction. I like it when you get a smile from the person you're talking to right now. I should say, I don't know if it's the right terminology, but I'm saying subject. You know, the person you're talking to. Sounds a little bit clinical, but that person could be a user, they could be a customer, they could be anything. So I'm calling them your subject. So if you get a smile and you get your subject to open up to you and sharing more with you, you get to move forward through a conversation together, right? From a perspective of them wanting to help you and, you know, bring them on board. So I really like that positivity. A bit of a counterpoint is neutrality. So it is recommended that you are unopinionated when you ask questions. I don't know if I completely agree with that, because I think to a certain, and that's why I've said mostly unopinionated, because to a certain extent you want to get people on side, right? You want to be like, hey, I understand you, and now tell me more. Or take a counterpoint to what they believe, just so that you can get a bit of an argument going, right? As long as they understand that you're taking a position for this of having a good conversation, rather than an actual fight. So you want it to be relevant. You know, you don't want to waste people's time, right? You want to make sure that they know that when you're asking them questions about spraying in orchards, for example, that it actually does, you know, it is relevant to the work that you do. And of course, that would be relevant to the work that some of us do. And increasingly concise. I'm terrible at really long-winded questions, but what I aim to be is more concise over time. So you start with you can start with a multi-part, multi-claused question, as long as you get shorter and tighter and bring people along with you, so that you can hone in and narrow down together. And I'll show you an example of what that looks like. But now, people, we're up to the part where I get to organize things, right? And this is what I love to do. We all love to do this, right? As product people, we like to make lists of things and theme them and put them in categories and put them in boxes. Here is my set of boxes right here. So I've really enjoyed putting this together. You'll recognize the double diamond, no doubt. Let's talk about the problem space and the solution space. So we're asking a bunch of questions. We'll be asking, firstly, strategy questions. So I've categorized some things as strategy questions. I've categorized things as prioritization questions. And then when we get to discovery and delivery, we're entering the problem space and the solution space. And you'll notice you'll know that one of the features of the double diamond is diverging and converging, right? So diverging you possibly could about the customer and the problems that they have, and then converging back to say, okay, well, let's clarify what you've said and let's really understand that, so that when you get to the solution space, you can be asking questions that ideate and then focus. I missed coaching. There are some coaching questions that, if I've got time, I'll share. And of course, going through all of it, is we start by trying to understand why, and then what, and then how. We get more specific and more concrete, from abstract to concrete, as we go. So first of all, strategy questions, really determining the game we want to play and how we're going to win it. Prioritization questions, which initiatives are best with that strategy. This is discovery and delivery, where we discover the problems, and in coaching, how we build our teams, our people and teams, to give them the ability to solve their own problems, right? So that we can scale ourselves. So here we go. This is the part where I actually talk about questions. It's been, is it 15 minutes? How am I going for time? Yeah, halfway through, haven't said a question yet. So shows it. No, okay, I'll go. Cool. Okay. So this is really the space where you distill or you create your company strategy and turn that into action. So this is one of my favorites. The first one, the why, on the top left-hand side there. What is the problem we are trying to solve for whom? Now, quite a lot of these questions sound really simple, right? It sounds like, of course, we'd be asking these questions. But I think they're deceptively simple, right? And they are simple. People think they're simple, and therefore they don't need to be asked. But pretty much 100% of the time, the companies that I work with as a consultant, we do need to ask these questions. And it's great as an outsider coming in, because it gives you the excuse to ask that question. If you're working at a company and you suspect that people don't have an answer to this question, after a while it gets a bit tricky to ask it, right? Like, who's that customer again? As an outsider, it's very easy for me to do. So I have no trouble saying, what is the problem you're trying to solve and for whom? That's the why for your company. That's the reason you exist, the problem that you're solving. Gareth, who's here tonight, thank you, Gareth. He's got a good one. How do we know that it's a problem worth solving? So this speaks to commerciality, right? Is it a problem worth solving? Will our customers find it valuable? Is there a business model? Getting onto, who are our customers and what do they pay us for? Is there a business model that actually makes sense? A number of times we've probably all heard pitches from people who run companies, and you're like, I don't understand how people pay you. Like, if I don't get how people pay you for what, I don't think it sounds like a very good idea. That might be a great idea. It might just be that we're all stupid, but I don't think we are. We're not really stupid. Like, you need to be able to answer that question to be successful, in my opinion. A good example of this, another one that I've got from Vend, is really our best customers were, right? Who our best customers, who the customers are that we should actually be targeting. Cafes and restaurants, it turns out, go out of business. They go out of business like all the time. So if you are selling a product to cafes and restaurants, your churn numbers will be absolutely off the scale. They also are quite small and they don't pay you very much. What else? Yeah, it still takes a lot of time to set up a cafe and a restaurant to use your product. So if you set them up and then 90 days later they churn, that's a huge loss for you. So that's an example of where we asked, who are our best customers, and it turns out it was inventory-based retailers. They were paying us the most money, and our product was absolutely right for them. So we stopped selling to cafes. Another example is from Xero. Now I'm going to talk about a time that I wasn't actually at Xero. Some of you in the room were. So please correct me if I'm wrong, Bradley. In the early days, I think it was built as an accounting tool for small businesses, right, to kind of disintermediate accountants. Was the accounting practices discovered it and found out that they could go from, say, 20 clients to 50 clients, and found out, how much better. I'm looking at Bradley going, is this even true? But yeah, I think it's true. So accounting practice discovered that this great efficiency from using a tool like Xero, which was originally meant to be for small businesses, they loved it, and it actually opened up partners as a channel. So if you look at who is your customer, what do they pay us for? Partners, it turns out, are a great channel to sell Xero, because they use it for their customers, and you don't have to go and approach all of the small businesses in the whole world. You go to their accountants and you sell it once to a few hundred people, and everybody is happy. Alex, thank you, Alex. If you're online, paraphrased Richard Rumelt, who wrote a book on strategy called Good Strategy, Bad Strategy, and fundamentally, Richard says that strategy is just asking what's really going on here, followed by what should we do about it. And adding to that, what Dan says here, Dan Young from Lawview says, how do we win? So, I think that plays really well into the idea that strategy is knowing the game you're playing and having a plan to win. What should we do? How should we play this game? How means for you, and it doesn't necessarily mean having the most money, but when it can mean different things, but you still have to have a plan in order to earn the right to stay in business. How does this map onto some common tools? So these questions, you will have, maybe you're familiar with the decision stack from Martin Erickson. Do we see ourselves in future, and what would we do to succeed? You need to be asking these questions in order to be able to fill this out. This is what I like to use, the one-page product strategy. Where do we see ourselves in the future? What problems do we exist to solve? What is our purpose? Who are our customers? How do they pay us? All very fundamental, basic questions that it's worth coming back to again and again. I'd be not doing my job correctly at a product meetup if I didn't mention Marty Kagan. So these are great questions, right? He has the 4 risks, right? Is it valuable? Is it usable? Is it feasible? Is it viable? These are the questions we should be asking ourselves when we're making a new product, doing anything really. Will people choose to use it? Can people figure out how to use it? Do we build it? And do we have the right skills and the technologies and the people to build it? And can it sustain a business? I'd probably put that a little bit further up. More recently, I've heard him on a podcast asking this question, what don't we know? It's a powerful question. And Erica Hall has something to say about that too in a minute. That was 1 out of 4 sets of questions. All right, okay. We're on track, team. These are product prioritization questions. So Nicole Williams, thank you, Nicole, has shared with us the concept here of bets, right? Our confidence in what we're doing and what bets are we placing on things. Annie Duke, who wrote the book Thinking in Bets. She's a former professional poker player, also a cognitive psychology PhD candidate. She talks about life being less like chess and more like poker, right? It's a series of bets that we can learn from. And the reason for that is, and it's probably worth quoting her here, she says, as humans, we believe things and we tend to stick quite closely to those beliefs. Decisions involving uncertainty are better framed as a bet to immediately encourage an honest assessment of alternatives, right? So it removes that ego from it. So we're not worried about whether we're right or not. We're saying, oh, it's a bet, let's give it a try. How much are we willing to bet? What, like, given that a software development team will cost you about $1 million a year, how many cycles of software development activity is it worth betting on this hypothesis? Bradley, there you are. What is the thing in prioritization? What is the thing that the company will live or die on if it is or isn't solved? So to answer that question, you're going to have to really understand the commercials of your business and your business model and what. Nicole also talks about the risks. So again, I've quoted Marty Kagan in Transformed, who talks about risks. He also talks about bets and experimentation. What's our riskiest assumption? And Amir says, what is the, so this is I love this one. This is, what is the merit or risk in the context of this problem? So this is a question you might ask internally of stakeholders who say, hey, we've got to do this thing, right? I've been to this place and a customer said, we need this thing, so we got to do it. And then so you ask, cool, what's the merit of it? What's the benefit, right? And what are we risking? Tell me how many deals in the pipeline are based on this. What's the total revenue? How many customers might churn if we don't do this thing? These are questions that we also need to ask our own teams. Also, of teaching them a heuristic to go through, to step through, before they come to us and say, change everything, stop everything, change everything now. Because honestly, it's going to change everything. With this one customer, we've heard it before, right? So let's go now to questions. These are exploratory questions. These will help us understand our customers and their lives and their motivations. Let's start with, thank you, Chloe, if you're online, for saying, what gives you joy about this product or your job? I love that. That's a very positive question, right? It gets people in the mindset of saying, of thinking, what do I like? And people have a little smile on their face. And then that Matt's going to ask them, what gives you the most angst, right? Immediately following that, out of myself. But while you're there, you've been primed for this, and now actually, tell us what gives you the most angst. That will help us. That will help us build a better product. That will help us understand you and your life and your motivations and your feelings. Jazz would follow that up with, why is that important to you? That's important to know. Maybe it's not important. Maybe it's just something that's slightly annoying. Why is it important to you? Might not be, but it might be. Might be really important. Katie has come back with the evergreen question. Can you tell me more about that? Right here, that works everywhere. If someone's being a little bit vague, can you tell me more about that? Is a great invitation for them to actually tell you what the truth is and what's really going on. And just enough research is a great guide to user research or design research. Sorry. And Erica has a suggestion that she's got a position that brainstorming for ideas is terrible. And she says research indicates that it's not useful. I haven't read the research, so I don't know. But she's got a great idea. And that is, why don't we brainstorm questions and not ideas, right? So we get into a room together, and instead of saying, hey, what about this, what about that? We say, what don't we know? What, going back to the question earlier on, what don't we know? Let's find out to answer, to be sure about something. Thank you, Erica, for that. So I alluded there to a couple of questions I loved, right? Questions that
Testing, testing.
Hello, test, test. You want to test mine? Hello. Hello, Anthony. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Anthony? All right. Okay, we're back on.
Thank you, everyone. Apologies.
All right. So yeah. That's an example of funneling questions. And I really this is a new concept to me before I did the research for this talk. But I found a bunch that applied, right? In a stand-up, you say, what did you do yesterday? Put yourself in a position in time where you remember what you did. What are you going to do today? Put you in a position of painting a picture for the future. And it could be optimistic, right? Yesterday was true. Today is what you hope to achieve. And tell us what's really going on, right? Tell us what's holding you back. What should we start, stop, continue? What should we do more of, do less of, do better? And then feedback what's working, what's not working, and of course, and what else, which is the question we always remember to follow up with. So those previous two are exploratory. Oh no, this is still an exploratory question. An exploratory set of product discovery questions. Now, I like this question. I like to ask this. It's probably a bad question, objectively, right? Because it's saying, what do we want to give to our customers? We're not asking our customers anything about their lives or what they need. We're saying, what do we as a team want to do that would make our users feel special? I still love it. Like, it's probably, wrong. But I like the way it makes you think about the gift that you would like to share with your users. Suggested a better. So Chloe says, what will future you need to do your job well? What's going to change in your industry or in your world that we need to think about? I like that, right? Because our users, our customers, they're the experts in this domain. They hopefully know more than us about where technology, well, not where technology is going, but where the world is going as it pertains to their domain and to their industry. So I like that future thinking, and we've got some with Dan and Jazz next. We've got your classic magic wand, right? Imagine a future. Imagine what a future might look like. If there was one thing you could change, if there is anything you can take away in terms of technical or practical constraints, what would you use to make that happen? So these are very much future thinking questions that allow people to dream and give you great results. Teresa Torre is an expert in continuous discovery. So she encourages us to continuously ask these sorts of questions, or all of those previous questions, to our users and to our customers in order to iterate and to constantly improve. Oh, these are clarification questions. Melissa, you're there. Excellent. You're here and you're there at the same time. That's amazing. So, what is the current state? So these are clarifying questions. Let's get down to it, right? What's the current state and why is it a problem? What are you actually trying to achieve here? Dan's asking what would make this, so focused on the product now, we're coming back to reality. It is how would you make this product completely indispensable? And similarly, what are your unsolved problems? How do you address that today? How do you currently do this? I like that. When you talk to people about what they're doing and they say there's a problem, you say, how do you currently do it? And obviously, usually it's an Excel spreadsheet that's uploaded somewhere, downloaded as CSV, changed, and then uploaded again. But that's how everybody works, right? So if that's how people currently do it, we can totally do better. Oh, Bob Moesta. So speaking of struggling, he's an expert in jobs to be done. He talks about the customer's struggling moments, right? What are they struggling with? How do you design, he says, find a customer's struggling moment, and how do we design solutions that fit into that space? Because at the heart of jobs to be done, it's customer interviews, right? Finding out. They're in a certain situation, what do they want to do for what purpose? And then on the delivery side, there's a few more that I've just made up myself. Thank you, Colin, for saying, what does success look like? That's another visual question, and it helps us focus. Designers in the house, I know you're here. You love a how might we, right? You love to say how might we, and I love it too. I love it when you say it, because it's the opposite of can't we just. When someone says can't we just do X, Y, Z, you're like, no, it breaks my heart every time I hear that. It's so constricting, so constraining, so negative. Can't we just do that thing? So you've decided that is the only thing we can do. How we might is the absolute counterpoint. It's the absolute opposite to that, and I love it. I also love to ask. I love to cheat a bit and find out, to copy from other people, right? Just a little bit. Who's doing this well? Not necessarily just so that all our products look the same, but gives you a really good start point. someone must be doing this well. If we can find out who those people are and what they do, we can build on that and make it better. It's probably more strategic, but it's good in delivery as well. What would need to be true for that to happen? I love something to happen. What would need to be true? Not what do we need to do, but what would need to be true? Because when you say what do we need to do, people think in a very concrete fashion about what they are going to do and how they can contribute. What would need to be true takes the responsibility away from them, right? So it's like, make me a shopping list of everything that needs to happen, not just the things that I'm going to immediately ask you to do afterwards. I like so what as well. I use this quite a lot, hopefully in a non-threatening way. When someone says we're going to do this thing, I've said it's a reactive question, right? Someone is going to do a thing, and you go and say, well, so what? What is in it for the customer? Why are we doing it that way? What is the benefit to them? What is so what for the people who are using our software? And now I've got to coaching questions. Do I have time, or should I skip through them? No, let's do it. Okay. All right. Thank you, Anthony. I'll come back. I did this. I last spoke at this meetup 6 years ago, so it might have to be like 8 years before you have me back if I talk too much. That's my punishment. Chloe says in coaching questions, what's worrying you about your work? I like the way that's phrased. It's not saying what's your problem. What is your problem? What's worrying you about your work? It's very specific and also allows people to share. Matt is obviously concerned with efficiency, how much we're focusing on our, getting to do our jobs, and how much is stuff that's, filling our calendars that we shouldn't be needing to do. This is an example of a funneling question. What's working, what isn't, what else? And Jerry says, he's concerned with the context. Do my team have the context they need to do their best work? And this is my favorite. Can you tell me more about that Katie introduced earlier on in a different context? I like the coaching habit. It's got some great questions in it by an Australian, Michael Bungay Stainer. Recommend that book for a set of good questions that as product leaders we can be asking our teams. So here we are, people. We've got to the point of summarize. This is what I've told you. We talked about why we ask questions, what a good question looks like, the types of questions in product management, and I just told you all the questions. But I did actually tell you who some of my favorites were. So, I forgot. Who thought coming here today that the question would be why? Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Okay. How was I going to fill like half an hour just talking about one question? I would have, if I could, I would have done it, and then dropped this mic, which is going to be awkward, and then walked out. Least of all, the 5 whys. Why? It's quite an assault on the senses, isn't it, to see that? Toyota, built a technique around this, which is all about, it's very serious. It's about workshopping. You go into a workshop and you ask yourself, disciplined way, all of the whys. Why did this thing happen? Why did that happen? Why did that happen? That's fine. I think it's a reasonable technique. Something I don't like about the word why is I feel like it puts someone, depending on it's all about the context. Sometimes we can misuse the 5 whys. We can say, why did that happen? Why did that happen? And what we're really saying is, why did you do that? Why did you get that wrong? Or why did we do it this way? Or how do we mess up? So I feel like it's a little bit too pointed. So hopefully from tonight you found the most powerful questions that a product manager can ask, and have at least 1 or 2 things that you can take back to the office tomorrow and find, even if it's not a new question, if it's a new way of asking the same question of yourself, of the team around you, and we can all keep on improving together. I read a few things on the way, so I'll include that in the share back. And thank you very much. Do we have time for questions?
Yes. Right.
That's the thing I'm most looking forward to, because I'm thinking the questions that you ask the most powerful questions a product manager can ask.
Circular and meta about the whole thing.
I don't want anyone to be nervous, especially not the people in the front. Thank you for sitting in the front, by the way. I don't want anyone to be nervous about it, but it's got to be good, right?
Yeah. So no pressure at all on your questions. All questions are welcome. And on that note, let's start with one from online. Kim has rocked in there immediately, and she's asking, how do we know when we've asked enough questions about the problem space?
To Does anyone know the answer to that? I don't think we're ever finished, right? It's diminishing returns. Like, is it worthwhile keeping on asking, or do we really? Actually, one of the questions that didn't quite make it in here was it was about what would we do if we didn't have data, right? So sometimes we and I love the fact that we like quantitative information and we go and collect data about everything before we make a decision. But sometimes it gets us a little bit stuck, right? We go too deep. And the question you might ask is, if we didn't have the data, what would we do? And so you could probably ask the same question, right? What would happen if we didn't keep asking more questions? If you get to the point where you say, actually, I think we pretty much know. I mean, sometimes you know it right from the start, right? Or you think you do. And it's great when you get surprised. But I don't know, like somewhere along the way, it's too much. So maybe it should be the 4 whys, not the 5 whys. Let's change it.
But why? By the way, in case you're wondering why we're talking into a microphone here, but you're not hearing any amplified voices, that's for the people online. They can't hear us unless we talk into the microphone. So I just will need to make sure if anyone's asking a question in the room, I'll either give you the microphone if you're close, or I'll repeat your question if you're further away. So I saw some hands starting to go up. Roy.
Oh yeah.
I'll run down. Oh, and we're
if anyone does know the answer to any of these questions, please.
Hey Ross.
Hey, Roy.
Song? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so my question is, surely you can ask these questions.
Yeah.
Let's say for strategy questions, what if you ask your C-suite, but everyone's giving you different answers to the same question? How do you balance that?
Cool. Well, as a consultant, that's amazing, right? Because then you keep working. Keep working until you get one answer. No, I mean, it's great. It's great to surface that because, and like I said before, it's easier as an outsider to surface that, because if you already work in that business, you think, oh, well, I know that some people slightly disagree, but there's enough overlap and it's fine. And if you're an outsider and get quite different answers, that's a great thing, because it means that that's the thing to work on. And I like to think, it's something else that Richard Ramelt doesn't like is any kind of framework for strategy, right? He hates it when he sees like a strategy canvas. I like it because you can work with someone and say, this is where we are, and this is not complete yet. We don't have answers to these questions, and if you don't have answers to these questions, how can we know what our goals are and what we're doing about them?
The answer to the question.
So I love it. I love it when that
might not be
happens.
valuable. So. All right, another question in the room. Oh, back again. All right.
Do you ever find that sort of a time constraint is needed during these stages? So you sort of, close the doors on further answers or anything like that?
Well, you probably constrain it yourself, I think. If you're doing user interviews, you might say, we've got an hour, and you get as much as you possibly can. I know at Xero, we had a pretty good discipline in the end of having regular catch-ups with customers. So we'd say, we're here for an hour. It's what's called a Customer Connect program. We're going to talk to you for an hour. We're going to ask you a bunch of questions. And at the end of it, that's it. And we'd write up the notes and share it with everybody. And we'd do a lot of them. So it didn't really matter if we didn't get everything we needed in one session. But we kept on doing it week in, week out.
They changed their answers also, but actually thought about it more and came back again.
Just repeat.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, so the follow-up question was, what if people change their answers? Do you need to repeat the process if the users you're interviewing change what they think about something? No, I don't think so. I think it is. I mean, it's qualitative, really. It's not an exact science. So someone can change their minds. That's cool. But we're never going to get exactly the right answer for everybody. So if you interview 12 people, you could say that doesn't, like if your customer base is 10,000 people, talking to 12 people, you might say that's statistically insignificant. However, it's pretty good. It's still pretty good. You still get what you need, and if one of those people changes their mind, that's fine. It doesn't change things that much, I don't think.
Another question online from Oven-Based Cookie, who I don't know who that is, but if they'd like to reveal themselves at some point, that would be fantastic. How do you deal with customer-facing managers who just like to collect requirements and don't want to bother the customers with important why questions?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we should let ourselves be in that situation, right? Of taking orders that are just passed on. We always should reserve the right to go back to that customer and say, hey, I've heard this thing. What are you really trying to say? In that situation, would someone insist that you can't? you can't find out the real answers. And I'm looking at you, Anthony, like you understand it. I don't know. I don't think we should put up with that. I think we should say, actually, we need to know more. We need to talk to someone and find out what the problem really is.
Maybe ask our organizations why that's happening, because to your point, like, why would you not be allowed to answer questions? That would be really crazy. In fact, in organizations where I've seen a restriction on access to customers, it turns out to be a really negative thing for everybody, not only for the results that you get, but for the team who feel like they can't connect, or they're not allowed, or they're not being trusted, and that causes all sorts of negative cycles. Got to thank you, Ross, in the chat. So good answer. All
Marty
right.
had a question.
Let's go. Let's go here first.
I forgot to.
Hello.
So you mentioned a lot about having the positive situation that prepares people for the negative.
Yeah.
And I wonder if you've prepared yourself for the negative, which is, have you thought of some of the worst questions that product managers could ask?
Yes. Okay. Cool. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I've asked it myself in the past, and it was showing someone a wireframe. Okay, I'm going to say it was 24-ish years ago. Showing someone a wireframe and saying, "Do you like it? Right? Do you like this?" And okay, that's probably the worst question you can ask, because it's a binary answer, and they're going to say yes because they don't want to hurt your feelings. If they're in New Zealand or Canada, they'll always say yes. Sorry, Eagle's got a question.
Run down the back. You guys are trying to make me work.
So I'm going to disclose a little secret in this room, which is a new thing. I've just finished writing a manuscript of a new book that I'm about to publish.
And you're going to ask do you like it?
Which is called, interestingly, Unasked Question. And in that book, I'm discussing how the sales people and the sales processes, really teaching salespeople to ask the right questions. And interestingly, some of the categorization of the questions are very much aligned to the categories that you put together, which begs me to think that sales and product management are not two different disciplines.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about in the modern SaaS and the modern technology organizations aligning sales processes with product management processes?
Yeah, I love it. So thanks, Igor. When we work for, there's a negativity sometimes surrounding the relationship, right, between sales teams and product teams. And I find the answer I often give to that, when a product practitioner says, we're just order takers, the sales team are often selling whatever they want and they're not talking to us. I ask them, what have you told them? Like, show me your product strategy. Show me that you have earned the right to tell your salespeople to rein it in and to stop selling things that don't exist. Because if we give them the right information, they want to sell the things that we've got. But in lieu of great information, they often, and sometimes they go rogue, but they often want to play ball and want to be in our team. But if they don't have that information, of course they're going to make it up. They're going to say the thing that gets them the sale. And it's not that we shouldn't complain about it, but we should first look at what we can do to improve that before complaining about it.
And I think you were hinting at something as well, and there's that sometimes the best salespeople are actually, they're like product managers. They're really good at getting to the heart of the problem. So it's the same kind of questions. Interesting, there was a comment in the chat here from Mark as well, which I think is related, which is one possible question is, are there any questions I haven't asked you, but I should?
Oh, yeah, that's great.
Question.
Yep.
Right, has Eddie remembered what his question is?
Eddie definitely has a question.
Cool, thanks, Ross. So sometimes when you ask these powerful questions, the answers that you get are not that powerful. Do you have any,
disappointing.
Do you have any powerful tips or tricks to either get them to elaborate or to dig deeper into the surface level answers?
Yeah, I think. This is where your phraseology really does need to be, well thought out. So you could say, I think we can do better than that. If you're in a situation where people are trying to work on this kind of stuff together, and you can do better, I think that's the way of saying it. It's like, I think together we can work out a better way of expressing this, rather than saying, that's not good enough, you know, which it might be, or that's disappointing, or I can't believe you don't know who your customer is. Actually, you know, I guess further to the question that Roy asked before, it is also an opportunity to do better, to say, hey, you know, like, let's work on this. This is, now we know that this is an area that we need to work on. The tricky thing is if they think it's amazing and the person giving you the answer. But yeah, I think if you phrase it right, everyone's open to, you know, improving together.
Hot tip: I don't like your answer is not a good answer. So not a good response.
Anthony without an H.
Yeah, another question.
Good question.
How do you balance product strategy between like the answers from customers you have that you can connect with and ask versus the customers you think could exist if you developed the strategy a different way?
Yeah, yeah. I think that is such a great question, because we often put a higher stock in the customers we currently have rather than the 100 times more customers that we could have if we targeted them correctly. I think and I don't think there is an answer to it other than being aware of that. Like when we say, you know, I'm absolutely paranoid that I'm going to trip on this and this is going to fall off the wall. Our customer segments, like, I think we need to be really clear that when we're describing our ideal customer, they might not be the customer that we currently have. And I just think it's that awareness of saying, yep, we might have all of these type of customer, and they are telling us this information. That's the other tricky thing, right? They have needs. Your current customers are constantly telling you things that you consume, and you try and summarize and, you know, hopefully do something about if they're customers that you really like and really want. But there will always be another segment that you could be aiming for. And you could think, and I think it's a strategic question, like, are actually, you know, back in the Vend days, we'd say we have cafes and restaurants, we have inventory retailers. We could say, what about these other customers that we don't have? But we should constantly be looking at that set of customers and going, who are actually right for us? Not who should we listen to and who should we not, but this is what it currently is. That could potentially be different from what it is in the future. But yeah, so I think it's awareness. And building it into your strategy as well.
Any other questions online? Any other questions from online? Nope. All right. I think we can call it there.
Okay.
Big round of applause for Ross. Thank you. Skip to the next slide.
Oh, yes. Oh, that's right. Not over yet.
Yeah, not over yet. Right, so by the way, I forgot to introduce myself at the beginning. I know a lot of you know me already, but my name is Anthony Martin from Product Tank, one of the organisers for Product Tank Auckland. I'm also part of an organisation called Product Aotearoa. Product Aotearoa is an organisation that we've created to bring together product people across New Zealand. So it's made up of people from the meetups in Auckland and Wellington and Christchurch and Tauranga and Dunedin. And we're running our next unconference. Oh, back up one slide back. There we go. Thank you. On the 19th of July. This is an online event. It's run as an unconference. For those who don't know what an unconference is, this is where the agenda is self-generating. It comes from the participants. So basically the day starts with everybody getting together and going, hey, I'd really like to talk about this. And people will basically, we make up a list of all of those, and then people will gravitate around that particular topic and discuss it for half an hour or so, and then move on to the next topic. It's a really, really, really engaging event. It is online, but it is the most engaging online event I think I've ever attended, because you always get a chance to talk and to discuss the things that are on your mind. And you can contribute it as little or as much as you want. If you've got a burning question on your mind, then it's a great place to take it and have people discuss it. Or if you just want to come along and listen to others. Tickets are on sale now. We'll have the QR codes up at the end of the event if you'd like to join. And then we ran our first conference last year under the Product Aotearoa banner. And that was so popular that people said, oh, can you do it again? And we went, oh my God, we have to do it again. So we're doing it again in November. We're still finalizing the date and the venue and the location at the moment. But if you would like to hear more about it, if you'd like to be advised when our early bird tickets are going on sale, please sign up at the pre-registration and we'll add you to the mailing list. I promise we won't spam you. Right, that is it. I just want to say a massive thanks again to Igor from Blacklock and the Biz Dojo team for hosting us. Can we have a round of applause for them, please? And events like this don't happen without the hard work of all the volunteers. So can the Product Tank volunteers stand up, please? These are the people who've been working hard tonight. Thank you, Vera. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Zach. And the hall is here earlier. We are always welcoming venues, so places like this that we can do presentations. We need a space that sort of can take about like 50-ish, 50, 60, 70 people. So if you have a venue, I'd really love to have a chat with you. If you have a topic that you'd like to talk about, please let me know. I am sort of building our speaker backlog through the back half of this year at the moment. Or generally, if you'd like to volunteer and just help us out, as I said before, this event only happens through the hard work of our volunteer team. So if you'd like to help us out, please let us know. If you go to the Product Aotearoa website, there's links to all of this. Plus, you can also join our Slack channel there already. If you do want to volunteer, either come and have a chat with one of the volunteers who are here tonight, or just jump in Slack, ping me, and I'll add you to the volunteers channel. Thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate you coming out. Oh, Miss Woodford say, oh yes, is anyone hiring in the room?
Yeah.
Gareth.
Yeah, I only just remembered I'm hiring. I do a fractional CPO role at a company called Immersive, which is a Web3 company, so crypto off-ramp, and we're looking for a product manager at the moment. So if you're interested in the amazing world of Web3, this is the job for you.
Glad to see Web3 people still hiring, to be perfectly honest. So that is good news. Roy.
Hi everyone. So my name is Roy. So I run a tech recruitment company specializing in Web3. So one of my clients is
Gareth, get in touch with me.
We'll keep it offline. One of my clients is not in Web3, but they're hiring a product manager who is familiar with AI in the more kind of generative AI context. Based in Auckland. So if you're keen, have a chat. Thank you.
Can I also ask a huge favor? Is it okay if I take a photo to prove that I was here? if you don't want to be in the photo,
Zach, you hiring as well, are you?
Your head. Oh no, sorry. Yeah, all right. Okay, we go. Okay, all right.
Sorry, people.
Oh no, okay, everybody. There we go.
You're here in spirit.
Oh, there we go. That's not working.
Cool.
Thanks, everybody.
Well, and again. All right.
I'm good with technology. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Zach, Digital Products Lead at Auckland Transport. We're hiring for an assistant product owner, so if you're looking to move into the product space, we're looking for someone to come work on the future of ticketing, so contactless payments and national ticketing system here at Auckland Transport.
All right, a lot of people hiring at that entry level. It's very hard to get in at that entry level with those entry level roles at the moment. Cool. Right, thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate you all coming out. I think there's still a few drinks and whatnot left, a few chips left, I think. Feel free to network and whatnot. And I think we're here till about sort of 8 o'clock or so. Oh. Thank you so much. Good night. Thank you so much, everyone online as well. I'll be shutting down the online feed right about now.